Hey guys! Welcome back to how to make a chain simulation in the Unity game engine. This video is part 2, so let's start unreeling you guys into the well. So, if you remember, when I tried to rotate this torus, the pivot point made it rotate in a kind of skewed way. So all of these are actually not centered by default. Also, because we just modified our geometry here, the pivot point can also become skewed that way. So we're going to select all of them, and then we are going to select the center pivot option. There it is. Because we are making a simulation, that can cause problems, and also because we are going to essentially be making linked chains and trying to move them and rotate them, centering the pivot can help us a lot later on. That's what we're going to do for all of them. So now, if I try to rotate this on the y-axis, let's say by 90 degrees, you can see that it moves in a centered way. Just rotate this and you can see that it rotates in a very centered way. And this is what we want. What we're actually going to do now is to select the export option. This is the export option, and we also want to click the plus icon here, choose asset as our export format. Sort of format the mesh in the Unity sort of mesh format. We'll just hit export. What we're going to name it is chain link 1. This one, and then choose export again, chain link 2. And we're also going to select just this part of it, chain link, and copy it, and then save this. And then once we select this one, we are going to then paste this in and then choose 3. And this will make it faster to export the rest of them. So now, actually, the LED system kind of categorizes the first one as a 0. So we're going to name this, just kind of rename all of these. Okay, so once we've exported this, set all of these to be inactive, and we can also place this under an empty game object, torus backups. And now we can child them all to this one. Because they're inactive, they won't take up any power in the scene. We can also just drag all of these in. And chain link 4 actually kind of seems a bit skewed in its rotation. Oh, it was set to 30. Okay, so I actually might want to, this is why we created the backup. So we're going to turn this on again. And we're going to select not rotated by anything at all. I'm going to select all of it, rotate it on the y-axis until it is aligned with the grid, which is another way of telling if it's oriented perfectly or not. Hit export on this. We can just choose this to automatically put the name in there. Oh, is this the one that I actually want? This one has the missing mesh, so I'm assuming that this is actually the, let's rename this to 4. No, wait, hit return before pressing the number. Okay. And now we have all of our chain links in the right orientation. Okay, so the reason why I just exported all of these is because, one, I would have dragged the objects down to the project to create prefabs of them, which are basically stored versions of game objects. Delete this one, this is just an example. I would have done this anyway. Also, when you create a mesh, these shapes are not saved in the project as files by default. So these are all of the meshes. Let's look at all of these one by one. So this is LOD1. So actually let's rename all of these. LOD mesh. Let's shift select all of it. 1. Actually name these according to the LOD system. Perfectionism at its best. And there we go. So let's look at these meshes in detail here. The LOD mesh 0, this one has 1,355 vertices and 832 triangles, or tries. Tries are triangular faces, and you can see kind of triangular separations, like diagonal separations in between these kind of square faces. So that's why we have more than 512 tries in here. All of the sides of the torus that we can actually see are actually square faces or quads. The 5 vertices, Not sure what the reason is there. And this one is less smooth at 1009 vertices and 624 tries. This one, 432 vertices and 288 tries. LOD3 is 205 vertices and 120 tries. The LOD Mesh 4 is very minimal, hexagonal with a diamond-shaped tube, and no wonder it clocks in at 92 vertices and 48 tries, both being in the double digits. So this one is really small. Okay, so we just dragged all of these objects in here at the same time, and that is why they're overlapping, because they all have their transforms reset. Now we're going to set up the LOD system, and this is the detail culling system to swap out all of these models. So if you're really far away from the general object, call in this one to be rendered. So first, we're going to right click in the empty space in the hierarchy, or open the create menu at the top here, create empty object, chain link. And we're going to name all of these objects LOD and then prefix here. So LOD, select this one, ninja operation here, shift select all of these and drag them underneath the chain link. And now we're going to select add component. In the search bar, choose LOD, and now you can find LOD group component, add this, and now we can see that it sets up kind of these separated categories here, the kind of levels of detail, and if we zoom out here, we can see that the camera moves along this bar. This is in LOD 0, and this means that it's going to be rendering whatever we have assigned to this, which by the way, we don't have anything assigned, number one, and also we have too few levels of detail actually in the bar. Right click on the LOD bar, insert before, and now we can also do this again. So we have LOD 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and this is LOD 4. So now I'm going to kind of just drag these somewhere sort of evenly spaced out for now. Click on this, and under renderers, we can choose the add option, and now we can select the object that we just created. So we're going to double click on this, and this will assign the smoothest mesh to this section of the bar. Now we can click on this part and choose the LOD1 object and double click it to assign it. So we're going to do this for all of them. LOD3, click the LOD4 section, and as you can see, they don't look like they're overlapping anymore. You may have noticed that, and that's because we've assigned the renderers so that it will actually cull out everything that is not this category that we are in. So we can actually add multiple renderers if we want to. That's cool. And we can zoom out, and you can see it is changing here to LOD1, and because we've assigned these renderers, it might not be completely clear, but it is actually changing. One thing we can also do is adjust these levels here until it kind of looks ideal. However, it's really kind of hard to tell when it looks ideal or not. We could go into wireframe mode and we might be able to see the density as we move further and further out. Still, that might not actually be completely clear what we are seeing, and we can choose the distance that seems right in the scene view. However, in the game view here, this is what we are going to be focusing on when we actually want to focus on how the game looks. So it's not really very easy to tell because you don't have these kind of inspection tools like wireframe and things like that in the game view. One thing that we can do to make it easier to tell, firstly, like how smooth the one that we're looking at is, to choose create material. What I'm going to name this is white, and then put 1 here. I'm going to duplicate this, rename this to 2 blue. One thing I'm going to do is to be choosing colors that rhyme with the numbers, just so it can kind of be easier to recognize. So 3 green, and then 4 orange. And I'm also going to, while we're at it, create a metallic material for the chain. Another thing that we can do is, because we have 5 materials, also 5 meshes, and 5 prefabs, what we can do is to create a folder, prefabs, create another folder, and name this materials, and this is a subfolder of prefabs, so we can just drag this out. I don't want that. Maybe duplicate this time, rename this meshes, because this is where we're going to store the meshes that it exported. Drag all of these meshes into the meshes folder, prefabs, the chain link prefabs into the prefabs folder, all the materials into the materials folder. Pretty simple, right? And now we can collapse these and we have a much more organized view. So once we've made all of our materials here, we can assign these materials to chains. We assign 0 material and the white material. And these are all actually white, by the way. So we are going to color them in just a bit. So now we're going to select this one and choose a really metallic value, fairly high smoothness, so this is going to be the chain, and then a white color, this is already white, and then a blue color, so I'm going to just choose this, maybe like that, green. So now I'm going to zoom out here and you can see that the model actually changes color, indicates that it's actually changing between levels of detail. In fact, if I don't zoom out here and select this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one is the hexagonal one, with smooth shading turned on, interestingly, I find that it looks a bit weird because of the interpolation techniques, the shading technique. I always find this fascinating.